the formula for the perimeter of a circle, which is perimeter equals pi times the diameter, or we can say pi times 2 times the radius. Let's say that I have the diameter of the circle here, and I was to take this diameter and I was to make a straight line. I would notice that this diameter would be equal to, try to draw this as best I can, a little above and below. I would get 3 diameters and then a piece left over that's about 0.1415. So I would have 3 diameters plus this piece from here to here is about 0.1415. And it keeps going on. And we have a name for this number, and it's called pi. So now for this circle, what I've done is I've labeled the radius going from the center of the circle to the circle is 4 inches. I have the information now to be able to substitute. So using these, since I have the radius, I can either multiply this times 2 or I can plug it in over here. I'm going to multiply it times 2, makes it simpler. So I have pi times the diameter, which is 2 times the radius, or 8 inches. And then, since pi is approximately 3.14, I'm going to multiply that times the diameter, and I get 25.12. So my answer here is 25.12, and this is inches, is equal to pi times 8 inches, which was the diameter. For this example, we're given the perimeter, and what we actually want to find is what is the radius. So I'm going to use the formula perimeter equals pi times 2 times the radius. Sometimes you'll see this written 2 pi r. So since I'm given the perimeter is 18.84, I'm going to substitute 18.84 in place of the p. So I get 18.84 equals, and then I know that pi is 3.14 times 2 times the radius. So now what I have to do is I have to isolate the r to find what the radius of this circle is. So the first thing that I want to do is divide both sides by 2. After dividing both sides by 2, I get 9.42 equals pi times r. And the next thing I'll do is divide both sides by 3.14. So now, when you divide 3.42 by 3.14 on your calculator, you'll get that the radius equals 3. And our units were inches. So coming from the center of the circle, this is going to be 3 inches. Switching over to area, we have a new formula. And that is area equals pi times the radius squared. If I'm given the diameter, I would have to divide by 2 because I'll always have to put the radius in here. So here in our circle, we're given that the radius is 5 inches. So I want to go ahead and I want to substitute. So I bring down the a because I don't know what the area is first. For pi, we're going to use 3.14. And then our radius is 5, and that's going to be squared. So on the next line, we're going to have 3.14 times 25. And now we'll simply multiply. So I have 3.14 times 25 is 78.5. So 78.5 inches squared is our units, is equal to the area. Let's try another problem. In this example, we're given that the diameter is 16 inches, and again, we need to have the radius for our formula. So on the next line, we'll do area equals, I know that pi is 3.14. And in order to get the radius, I simply divide by 2, so that's going to be 8 inches, and this would be times 8 squared. On the next line, we have area equals 3.14, and 8 squared is 64. And now I simply multiply 3.14 times 64. So 3.14 times 64. I get 200.96. And this is inches squared because area is square inches is what our area is. Now, in this example, I just want to give you another piece of information. We've been using 3.14 for pi, and what I've done was I switched my calculator to be able to have an actual pi button. So when I press this button to multiply by pi, it's going to use a bigger number, 3.1415, and keeps going on. So instead of doing 64 times 3.14, what I'm going to do is 64 times, and I'm going to push the pi button here, which is a much bigger number, as you can see. Well, not much bigger, so 3.14, but let's see how much bigger it would make the area. So this time, using the pi button, I'm going to round off to the hundredths. So I have 201.06 compared to the 200.96. So you see the pi button actually gives you a little bit bigger an answer. If I was to round this off, I'd get 201, and this would be 201.06. It's very close to use this as an approximation. Let's try one more problem. For this problem, we're given that the area is 63.585 meters squared. This is one really big circle. And what we want to do is we want to find what the radius is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in instead of area. I get 63.585 equals pi, we'll use 3.14 times the radius squared. So the first thing I want to do is divide both sides by 3.14. So I have 63.585 divided by 3.14, which gives me 20.25 equals the radius squared. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And since that's already on my calculator here, I can just push the square root button, which is this one, and it tells me that the square root of 20.25 is 4.5. So 4.5 inches, meters is the units we used, is equal to the radius. So we're done. This final problem is going to combine perimeter and area in the same question. So it's saying the circumference of a circle is 20 pi meters. This isn't going to be in terms of pi, so we're not going to actually be multiplying or dividing by 3.14. And circumference is another name for perimeter for a circle. So we start off by writing the formula for the perimeter of a circle, which is, and we have this in terms of pi, so we're going to, it's pi times, and this is going to be the diameter. So I know that the perimeter is 20 pi is equal to pi times the diameter. Well, if I divide both sides by pi, it simply leaves me with the diameter being 20. Now, we want to find the area in square meters, so express your answer in terms of pi. So we are, again, not going to be multiplying by 3.14 in this. So we're going to put area equals pi times the radius squared. So in order to find this, I have area equals pi. And in order to get the radius, I'm going to cut the diameter in half, which is 10, and then square it. So this is 100. And then just for good form, when you do get pi 100, it's customary to put the number in front. Pi is not a variable, it's a constant, but the pi symbol should come after the 100.